The Tesla Model S was the big bang for electric cars, the first one you really wanted to buy, as opposed to feeling like you should buy one. But I would argue Ford's F-150 Lightning electric pickup truck is an even bigger bang. Here are 7 reasons why that'll matter even if you don't plan to buy a pickup. First and foremost, this represents the intersection, for the first time, of the best-selling vehicle in America with the future of propulsion. Let that sink in for a minute. It's a big deal. Ford would not make this move lightly, not with their cash cow and their pride cow, to be honest. They have huge heritage and huge revenue riding on this nameplate. To be sure, they will be selling primarily combustion engine F-150s for a long time. But for the first time now, we actually have a graph that will show to what degree that sales curve starts to erode in favor of electric. A data point we never had before, and a really important one. Second, an F-150 electric puts legitimacy into the electric pickup market. Now sure, we have the expensive and niche Hummer, quite legit. We've got startups like Bollinger, Rivian, whatever's left of Lordstown. There's the Cybertruck, that's over there. That's the opposite of mainstream. There'll be an electric Chevy Silverado coming as well. But by getting in there first at the intersection of mainstream and electrified, Ford is actually setting the table for all the rest, not just for themselves. Third, electric trucks matter more than electric cars. The whole idea behind electrification is to get rid of fuel consumption and get rid of emissions. That means you want to replace one for one a combustion engine car that's on the road or being sold in the near future that is using the most amount of fuel and putting out the most emissions. That's a truck. So every time you get an F-150 or other pickup truck buyer to go to an electric F-150 Lightning, you've achieved a bigger good guy than getting some BMW 3 owner or intender to buy a Model 3. Fourth, this should actually work, because Ford now has a proven track record of getting truck buyers to do what truck buyers don't do, and that is innovate rather radically. The whole rubric in the auto industry forever was that truck buyers are the most traditional segment. Then Ford came along and got a whole lot of them to buy 2-point-something-liter V6s with turbos and direct injection. That was heresy a few years ago. Now, Ford gets most of their sales from so-called smaller engines. They also got truck buyers to buy trucks with aluminum bodies. That seemed more like a soda can than a work vehicle, but they did it. So they have a track record of making changes in the mainstream of a tough market, although this will be their biggest lift in that direction for sure. Fifth is that price. Shockingly affordable, we call it. The F-150 Lightning starts at about $40 before tax incentives. That's in an era when the average new car in the U.S. is pushing $40. Now, normally a truck or an electric vehicle or an electric truck, you'd expect to radically push up the MSRP. In this case, it starts right about where the average car purchase is. Now, yes, most people are going to ratchet that up with higher trim and equipment levels, but starting there is an enormously big advantage for this vehicle. I'm certain that people in Ford's finance and accounting department at headquarters are pounding my Lanta shots over the pricing strategy on this vehicle. But good for us. Sixth, it's utterly normal looking. Unless you're a car buff and get around looking at the badges or the somewhat different face of this thing, you might never know it's an electric pickup truck next to you. And that's key at a time when the mainstream EV buyer is arriving in showrooms but doesn't necessarily want to buy a nameplate or a body design that screams, I'm a tree hugger or I'm an insufferable urbanite. This is going to be Ford's big shadow advantage. And number 7, the F-150 Lightning is braggable. Truck folks like to be proud of their trucks, and this one's got all kinds of numbers that help them do that. 0 to 60 in about 4 seconds. Used to be, not long ago, you had to spend deep 6 figures and have something where the engine had to be removed to change the spark plugs to get that kind of performance. Now, highway crews will have it. And then there's all kinds of other numbers like 775 pound-feet of torque, the most ever in an F-150, and up to 563 horsepower if you get the big battery model. These are numbers that matter a lot in the truck biz, but not so much maybe in compact crossovers. Then there are fun features for that pride of ownership, like the fact you can run your house off this thing for 1, 2, or even 3 days, Ford says, during the next power outage. And that enormous front trunk or frunk. Lots of EVs have something like that, but they matter much more in a truck, where stowage, especially when it's secure and watertight, is absolutely core to the game. Is the F-150 Lightning without issues? Absolutely not, and I'll cover that in a separate video. But it is such a huge step forward in the history of electrification that it is a bolt of lightning in automotive history.